Joseph Reese.
Here.
James Galusing.
Here.
Delma Salinas.
Here.
And Brian Kufal is here. Let the record show there is a quorum of board members present, and that this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551 of the State of Texas Open Meetings Act. We move now to the moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Love the sound of the kids. I just love it, love it.
This meeting is being live video streamed. And we move to item number 4, which is the adoption of the agenda. But before we adopt the agenda, I'd like to propose some changes to the agenda. First change that we have is I'd like to move item 7C, which is the discussion and possible action regarding Kingsville ISD's financial audit for 2022-2023 to a spot after 6B. And the reason for this move is that the auditor who's here has another engagement that he needs to get to tonight, and we moved our meeting and it kind of messed with his schedule. And so I'd like to move that up to following item 6B. I would also like to move item 6C1, which is the CNI update, including the table and federal accountability, to the very end of the meeting. The reason for that is we have a legal matter that we need to discuss in closed session prior to that discussion. And rather than us bounce into closed session 2 times, I'd like to just move that item to after item number 9. So with those 2 adjustments, do I hear an adoption of the agenda? A motion to approve. Motion made by Ms. Salinas.
Second motion.
Seconded by Mr. Galusing. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 5, public participation. Do we have anyone who's signed up to speak to the board?
Yes, sir, we have Elizabeth Ramos, citizen. The request is on agenda item F.
All right. Ms. Ramos?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Board of Trustees. I remember the first time I ever came to speak here at KISD. It was packed full of special education kids and their parents. And hopefully my last part of public participation I will ever do at KISD is tonight. And it's also packed with kids as well. They get to get about 2-3 minutes of seeing civics in action tonight. So I'm here for the PD minute waiver and requesting an item to go on a future agenda. I'm formally requesting that F&G policy and all policies containing complaint and grievance process to be on the next agenda. Why, may you wonder? Well, over a year, the policy is brought to the board and a decision was made, convinced by the board president, who's not looking, not to put a written due date on when a level 3 hearing should be held after a citizen appealed a level 2 decision, or requiring to give notice to a citizen after a level 3 grievance has been heard. I've heard past board members and current board members give me this same reply when I stated concern about how many citizens don't complain. Board members' response was weak and recommends filing a grievance. My reply has always been not as simple as that. There is a fear of retaliation against employees or students or parents if they do. There's a fear that if they get frustrated with the process, they give up, and KISD is to sweep it yet again under the rug. Board members' response is, well, I don't know what to tell you, they need to file a grievance. Well, let me tell you about KISD's grievance process and why it needs changing and put up on the next agenda for a talk and a vote. I had a grievance started all the way back in May of 2023. I had a level 1 grievance meeting with the previous HR director and never heard back from KISD on the matter. KISD is not organized to keep track of anything. I have a level grievance I started in March of 2023 prior to the May 2023 grievance KISD forgot all about. And it took over 2 months to get a level 2 denial, and I filed a level 3 appeal and never heard from anyone again. It has been 8 months since the level 3 appeal and 10 months from the beginning of the process. I could have created a new human being and been breastfeeding it in less for the administration and board to hear a level 3 grievance. Lastly, I have a second active grievance with this district that was started in September 10th of 2023. Level 3 appeal was turned in the end of October, and it took 2 months to give a decision on a level 2 hearing, and about 5 months since the paperwork was dropped off for a level 1 hearing. I'm working on my second human being. I have 4 months to give birth. Can you get a level 3 hearing prior to its birthday? 10 months is the time frame it takes to get an education. It's a lot of time. 10 months that's lost in education, and that's detrimental. Here are the 2 grievances, 1, 2, and that's not all that you have in limbo right now, that at least I know about. This is why filing a grievance is a joke. This is why people call me. This is why people talk badly about KISD behind closed doors and on our porches and on social media. Please fix it. Finally, hold yourselves accountable and stop allowing the board president to hold these issues hostage. And lastly, can you please recommend the superintendent require all staff to take a professional development class with or without a waiver about student privacy, FERPA, and proper record handling per district policy, state requirements, and federal regulations? There seems to be an extreme need for this professional development. Maybe they, along with the superintendent, can take a test to make sure they are knowledgeable and respectful with student privacy. By the way, welcome to experiencing that retaliation everyone's so afraid of. If my grievance would have been held in a timely manner, I would have never released the TEA REFISH accountability grades. This is a leadership fault. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. We move now to item number 6, communication from administration. Item 6A is recognition of the 2023 Winter Chess Tournament winners. These can be found on page 3 to 4 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Gufall, Dr. Bettis, members of the board. We had our first chess tournament of the year, December the 8th, and there were about 85 students that participated, and we are going to recognize the winners for the tournament. Let's start with second grade. Second grade beginner division, Madison Domini. Come on up if you are here. Okay, third grade, beginner division 1, Hayden John Alvarez from Harvey Elementary School. Third grade, beginner division 2, Jacob Quintanilla from Bettis Elementary School. Third grade, intermediate advanced division, David Cavazos from Harold Elementary School. Third grade, intermediate advanced, Liam Adams from Harold Elementary School. And also third grade, intermediate advanced, Jeremy Gonzalez from Harold Elementary School. Moving to fourth grade beginner division, Gabriel Tamez from Harold Elementary. Fourth grade intermediate division, Colin Kawamura from Paris Elementary. Fourth grade intermediate, Catherine Garcia from Pettis Elementary. Fourth grade intermediate, Arnie Bettis from Bettis Elementary. Fourth grade advanced is Casey Lovelady from Bettis Elementary. Fifth grade intermediate division 1, Camille Garcia from Harvey Elementary. Fifth grade intermediate division 1, Desmos Munoz from Harvey Elementary. Fifth grade intermediate division 2, Malik Shelton from Harvey Elementary. And fifth grade advance, Brian McClellan from Pettis Elementary. Secondary intermediate vision, we have Steve Salinas from HM King. And second grade advance, we have Dylan Sandoval from HM King as well. And sponsors that we have Yesenia Nieto from Hero, come on up please. Cassandra Alvarez from Harvey Elementary. Ida Alaman from Pettis Elementary. Juan Carlos Merino from Gillette. And Godfrey Sisonko from HM King High School. Let's give them all a round of applause. And kids, let's get close for a picture.
All right, we move now to item 6B, which is School Board Recognition Month Proclamation. This can be found on pages 5 to 6 of our packet. Dr. Pettis and Mayor Sam Fugate.
We know how important this is, so we invited the main man, right?
Good evening. Thanks for having me. These years pass by pretty quick, don't they? It seemed like just the other day we were doing this. I was telling Senator Trudeau last night that when I first started doing this, my hair was black. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a few gray hairs from this room, let me tell you. I say it every year. I served for 9 years on this board. By far and away the hardest job I ever had in my life, and I appreciate everything that you board members do for these children of our community and for our community. It's truly a great thing that all of you do, and you certainly add to the quality of life to all our citizens. And on behalf of myself, I want to thank y'all for what you do. And with that, I have a proclamation. Whereas the mission of public schools is to meet the diverse and educational needs of all children and empower them to become competent, productive contributors to a democratic society and an ever-changing world. Whereas local school board members are committed to children and believe that all children can be successful learners and that the best education is tailored to the individual needs of the child. Whereas local school board members work closely with parents, educational professionals, and other community members to create the educational vision we want for all of our students. And whereas local school board members are responsible for ensuring the structure and provide a solid foundation for our school system. And whereas school board members are strong advocates of public education and are responsible for communicating the needs of the school district to the public and the public's expectations of the district. Now, therefore, I, Sam R. Fugate, as Mayor of the City of Kingsville, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2024 as Kingsville Independent School Board Recognition Month in Kingsville, Texas, and urge all of our citizens join in recognizing the dedication and hard work of local school board members and in working with them to mold an education system that meets the needs of both today's and tomorrow's children. It's witness whereof I'm hereunto set the seal of the City of Kingsville to be affixed this the 25th day of January 2024. It's signed by me and it's attested by our City Secretary, Mary Valenzuela. Again, on behalf of the city and the city commission, again, thank you for all that you do. Now we'll go there and have a weekend.
Thank you, Mayor.
Now, our campuses did bring some goodies for each of you, and this year they wanted to make sure that they were created by the children. And so they're very, very meaningful. So to all our principals, thank you so much for everything you did to help lead that. We truly do appreciate all of you. It does take a team of 8 to move a district forward, and it cannot happen without a team. So I thank you so, so much for being so supportive of where we're headed. And, the future looks bright. So thank you so much.
All right, as we amended our agenda, we are now going to address item 7C, which is the discussion and possible action regarding Kingsville ISD's financial audit for 2022-2023. Speak from Dr. Pitts and Mr. Raul Hernandez. And I believe we were all distributed a report.
It's the Word document,
No, that one there was not a document for it.
right? No, okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kufal. So we have Mr. Raul Hernandez here who's going to present the financial statements. This is from September 1 of 2022 all the way through August 31 of 2023. So he will present the statements, and then we will talk a little bit of the reasons for where we ended up where we did, and also the financial outlook moving forward. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Raul Hernandez.
Okay. I'd like to begin on page 15 and 16. This will be Exhibit C3. And as you get to the pages, this is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances. These are for your governmental funds. The first column is your general fund. Essentially, this is your operating statement. Account 5020 to the left. You'll see total revenues were $29,986,306. As you move down to account 6030, total expenditures were $28,900,669. So your revenues exceeded expenditures by $1,085,637. In addition, you had another increase of other resources totaling $477,007. So for the year, you have a net increase to your fund balance under account 1200 of $1,562,644. Now you started with a fund balance of $12,677,179, and you ended with a fund balance of $14,239,823. Any questions?
Do you want me to chime in on that or wait till you're all done?
No,
I have a
I'm
question.
sorry, yes, sir.
Have you been doing our books how long have you been doing our?
Dr. Pitts asked me the question when we were sitting down.
It's
And
4
honestly-
or 5, I think.
Could be, yes. I just cannot remember. We audit 18 schools, and it's just hard to recollect how many we've been auditing the school district for, but I would agree with him, 4 to 5 years.
In this last statement that you made, that we ended with a fund balance of 14 million, that's the part of the picture that wasn't told when we adopted a $4 million deficit budget this last year. We suspected that we were gonna have an excess fund balance. We didn't know for sure. So while that's very good news, we still got this year that we knew that we were gonna have to dip into some of that.
And to add to that, on page 15, right next to the general fund, you'll see the ESSER monies. You received over $5 million of ESSER monies. Again, talking to Dr. Pitts, this will be running out soon. I think in the year 2024, you have about $2 million left. So, but nevertheless, overall, you're moving forward with $14 million. Any other questions? If not, let's real quickly jump to page 55. And I'm almost done here. Page 55 is your schedule of budgeted amounts to actual. In particular, I just want to note under account 5020 again, on the column to the far right-hand side, this indicates a variance, a positive variance of $910,000 compared to your budgeted. So you exceeded what you anticipated on your revenues by almost $1 million. So you brought in more than you had anticipated. In addition to that, under account 6030, you came in under budget, $175,492. Now you're going to note the variances, the largest negative being function 11. And I'm going to let Dr. Pitts explain that shortly. So in total, your positive variance is $1,085,637 when you compare your actual dollars to your budgeted dollars. Very good work. Any questions? Lastly, there was a new accounting principle, and there's always new accounting principles. Don't ask me why, but it didn't really affect you materially. But nevertheless, you've adopted it to conform to accounting principles. There were no findings. And lastly, the auditor's opinion is unmodified. And that translates into a clean opinion. So very good work. Thank you. I'll let him answer.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. And again, we worked with Mr. Hernandez for the last 4 or 5 years, and he is very helpful. Not only is he proficient in what he does, but he's also very instructive to us, and really helps make sure that he keeps us on the right track so that we are doing everything according to general accounting principles. So we ended up with, in the general fund, a surplus about $1.56 million. And there's several reasons for that. One is very conservative estimation of revenues. We don't know at the beginning of the year how many students are going to come and how many sub-pops are going to come of each type. So we try to be conservative and leave a little bit of a buffer there, just in case. We also try to budget for emergencies as well too. Not all those emergencies come into being, but it's better to be safe than to be sorry. So those are 2 of the reasons for that. But there's also a couple of other reasons. There was a change in accounting principles with leases that really about $227,000 of those dollars that increased the fund balance. We really don't have to use. It's really for future, set aside for future lease agreements. So that's a change in general accounting principles. But then there's one other big factor as well too, the calendar. So when the calendar moved up, it had an effect on the budget in that we started the first day of school July the 31st. So July 31st and all of August, we were actually earning for the next school year, but that was actually earned during the previous school year before August 31st. So all that revenue, even though we received it in the new budget year, was considered due to the previous year for the audit. So it actually had an increase in revenues. That's part of the $1 million that we didn't anticipate in revenues because it was from changing the calendar. Now, as long as we keep the calendar still at this earlier time, then it won't have any effect on our audit moving forward. But if we ever move back to a traditional calendar, we could see a reverse from $500,000 to $750,000 of lost revenue going the other way. So that's an interesting change on the calendar. Now, we also we had some variances in what we had projected for instance, for salaries. That was what Mr. Hernandez was talking about. The same thing with the employees. Their salaries, part of it was earned in the previous budget year. So that was part of the variances because of the calendar as well, and it affected some of the functions, most notably instruction, because that's where the majority of our employees are. So again, overall, it is an increase in our fund balance. Again, we passed $14.2 million. That's great. We are definitely we're above where we need to be, but we have challenges moving forward. We talked about how we used, it shows $5 million of ESSER funds, but actually there's also another about $1.8 million in indirect cost revenue as well too. So there is a large amount to make up that we only have about $2 million of ESSER funds this year. So moving forward, we do need to look at reducing expenditures because we have less revenues now with the loss of the ESSER funds. So we're working on making sure our staff ratios are matching, at least 6.3 students per staff member. And then we are also looking at trying to make sure that the programs that we are getting are the most bang for the buck to help our students. So one other thing I want to touch on is food service. We broke about even in food service. And also there was $250,000 that at the end of last year, we transferred from the general fund that we reversed that back this year. If you remember, that's because of the inventory. We preemptively did that, but it turns out once we corrected the inventory, we did not need that. So that is reversed back to the general fund. And then as far as our debt service is concerned, our debt service had a moderate surplus, but then again, we did a defeasance to pay off some of our debt, and we're looking at doing defeasances in the future. And I might add that we're doing the defeasance by also reducing the tax burden on the community as well too. There was a $100,000 home exemption this year, so not only did we reduce the total tax rate, but there's also a $100,000 home exemption. So we're able to pay off more of our debt and at the same time decrease the tax rate. I'll take any questions that the board has.
Dr. Pitts, would you say that KASD is being fiscally responsible?
Definitely, we have been. What we did what we had to do when ESSER funds were available. We did not foolishly spend all of that. We knew that lean times would be coming ahead of time, and our fund balance was in danger before ESSER came along. And again, we not only use that money to help with instruction and learning loss, but at the same time, we use it to help our fund balance too. And there have been so many webinars by TEA and Mike Morath where he says, hey, this is what a fiscally responsible district does. They use the money not only to help with learning loss, but also during the pandemic, we got behind the eight ball because we had to buy a whole bunch of laptops, devices for students so they could be home. And that's where we got in trouble with our deficit. And a lot of that ESSER was to help us recoup a lot of that loss. So we've done what we need to do. Now what we need to do moving forward, now that we don't have ESSER, is we really need to make sure that our staffing ratios are where they should be. And we also need to make sure that we are, again, making sure that each program is not only efficient for our district and benefiting our students, but also at the same time, we need to make sure that we're looking for more efficiencies in our current operations as well. But yes, I would say that we have been, and we're looking to continue doing that.
So another question, Dr. Pitts, that staff ratio, does that also take into account administration, or are we just talking about teacher to student staff ratio?
We are talking about every position. The reason why is because staffing ratios are there for every different type of role in the district. You should have 14.3 teachers per student. You should have this many administrators per student at the elementary, this many administrators per student at the middle school. Same thing with nurses going all the way down the line, central office, auxiliary staff as well. So we are looking at staffing ratios. As a matter of fact, the leadership team has been working with that the last couple of months to make sure we are getting that to where it needs to be. And let me just say that when we look at staffing ratios, we are looking at getting those in alignment through attrition. Whenever someone leaves the district, if there is someone currently in the district that can do that position, whether it be a promotion and retraining, we are looking at doing that until our staffing ratios are acceptable.
I have a question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we are looking at central office as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I can appreciate the staffing ratios, but where we really need the help in the classrooms is where I would not want to see a sacrifice.
Exactly.
Just because, we're looking at our score and our data. So if we need that help in there, staffing ratios out the window for me.
Yes, we've been doing the same concept since, the past few years. When we consolidated the schools, nobody was gonna lose their job, it was gonna be done through attrition. Every year, we've been doing it that way. Because they do look at every category, even custodial, food service, all that. They give us the study of what are the staffing ratios you need for every single job category. This year, we had at least one person from central office leave, and we absorb it. So it's happening throughout. But we're not pushing anybody out. We're not gonna do a RIF or anything like that. We are doing it through attrition. So I wanna make sure that everybody understands that. Also, I appreciate our auditor being here, and I appreciate that you said very good work. You said it like 3 times. And I guarantee you, if we hadn't had a surplus and it would have been the other way around, we'd be hearing a lot about it. So we need to really acknowledge the work that not just our finance department did, but of course they did, they helped lead it, but everybody, our board, our teachers and staff, everybody is interdependent when it comes to the budget. And so I want to thank our entire team for, in this crazy year of budgets, where the state has not released a lot of monies, we were still able to spend fiscally responsible. We were fiscally responsible to make sure that we did not go into the other way. Okay, so thank you so much to everybody for supporting us and making these decisions, because some of these decisions are very, very hard. They're very difficult, especially in some, needy areas. Our special ed, we're really, really needing more help in that area because we are having an increased population of special ed children. And actually, if any of you know anybody that wants to become a special ed teacher, please encourage them to do that, because there is definitely a shortage of special ed teachers and paras throughout the state of Texas. Okay, thank you.
I want to piggyback on what Dr. Pettis said, that it is a team effort. And again, we worked hard with the auditor, Raul Hernandez, and I want to give credit to Sandy Galindo, who's here, who really has worked. She's my right hand in everything, but she has worked a lot with the auditor, many late hours, including over holidays and everything. And I really appreciate her. So, and Mr. Mireles, what you said is so true, that every decision that we look at as far as staffing is that we don't have enough money to continue with the amount of staff that we have right now. We know that, but at the same time, we look at that position and see, is it so necessary for student instruction, for safety, for operations? I mean, the work still needs to be done, for sure. And we need to provide a quality education and a safe learning environment for all students. So we're not just wholeheartedly slashing across the board. We are again looking and seeing fiscally responsible what we can do moving forward with our staffing ratios.
I appreciate that. And again, going back to ratios, going back to class size and things like that, it's really important to have the right people in the right places. But at the same time, you know, these are recommendations too. If we're gonna go by what the need of the district is, and like we said, special ed, we need special ed help, and we're gonna, you know, we need to go for it. Regardless of the numbers or what the staffing ratios or any of that CASB stuff, I don't worry about that when it comes to kids.
Dr. Pitts.
Yes, sir.
Several months ago, we were here in a workshop and talked about the budget. I don't know if you remember. And I thank you, first of all, for putting that cushion, like you mentioned to us, during this upcoming year. And there's, might be sometimes when I vote the way I feel, which I do all the time, really. And I did vote against, the 4.5 day, okay? But it's working. We brought some money in, okay? And that's exactly what we need to do, is to not stop there. We still need to be frugal with what we're gonna be spending on here in the next one. And I do agree with Mr. Mireles. I like to focus on our teachers a little bit, just to keep retention as a priority. Aside from, I know we have our buildings that we need to fix, but yeah, we need to keep our teachers and our staff.
Mr. Garcia, you're so correct that actually, it's interesting, the calendar has had a positive effect on our finances because our ADA has increased. It seems like the attendance rate, when students know that Monday through Thursday, I guess is what we're focusing on, I mean, they have stepped it up, and it's been at least over a 3% increase in attendance between 3 and 4. So that really has helped our finances as well too. And then again, Fridays can be used for intervention. So it has seemed to work, at least it seemed to give us benefits so far.
Any other board questions to Dr. Pitts? Mr. Hernandez? If not, thank you all. Mr. Hernandez, thank you for your presentation. All right, we're going to move back up now to item 6, which is a superintendent's update. And while we're not going to cover the full table of federal accountability.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kruval, it is an action item,
right.
and it does need to be approved.
All right, before we move on then, do I hear a motion that we accept the audit report as delivered by Mr. Hernandez?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Ruiz, seconded by Mr. Chapa. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. We move now to item 6C. And while we're not going to go over the taper and federal accountability, there are some teachers that we wanted to recognize. Dr. Fetter.
Good evening. Oh, it's not on. Good evening, board, President Kufal, Dr. Bettis, all of the board members. Today, I'm super excited to introduce some of our teachers, specifically two. They're both kindergarten teachers, and I love being in their classrooms. Mrs. Sanfilippo, come on up. She is a Bettis kindergarten teacher, and when I'm in her room, yes, bring your student up. The students are in stations, they're working on phonemic awareness activities, they're very self-motivated and self-sufficient, and so I'm super excited to have Mrs. Sanfilippo here. Wait, do you want to say something?
Well, let me introduce, I don't think I need a microphone because I'm a teacher and I speak loud. But this is one of my top students. This is Christian Benavides. And whenever I ask him to do anything in the classroom, he's always very willing to do it. He comes to school very excited to tell me things that he's doing at his house. His parents are very supportive. And when I also wanted to say this about his parents. Whenever I call him with anything or I have anything good to share, they're always really nice to say something back to me. And it shows through their son too, because he's always very kind in the classroom. But he came to me already reading. So anything that I'm doing with him in the classroom is just trying to push him further along. So really anything that I've done is because of his parents. So I just wanted to recognize that.
Thank you so much. Dr. DeLeon, you want to come on and take a picture? I know. Thank you so much for all you do, Mrs. Sanfilippo. Oh, do I leave the microphone? Will it go over there?
Yeah, it's working.
Do you want to talk to him up there?
Hello, my name is Christian.
Hello, Christian.
Thank you, Mommy and Daddy.
All right, good job.
Thank you, Dr. Farah.
Whew, that just warms my heart. We have another kinder teacher that we want to recognize. She's one of our bilingual teachers, Miss Vergara Garcia from Harrell Elementary. Come on up with your student. Miss Vergara Garcia, she has her students writing and phonics, phonemic awareness activities. We even took a sample of her writing rubric that she uses for her kinder teachers and shared it across the district because we are so excited about all the work that she's doing in her classroom.
Thank you. My name is Mrs. Vergara Garcia. I've been in the district all my career, so I loved it, and I appreciate the board support. So thank you for all y'all do, as well as the parent support. I told the parents it is a triangle of support. It's them, me, and your beautiful little daughter. When Pretty came into my classroom, we had a little discussion of what we want to be when we grow up. And Pretty was like, I want to be a doctor, Miss Garcia. So I love that confidence in her. And sure enough, come on, Pretty, come up here. Sure enough, she's lived up to it. She's worked extremely hard. When she first came in, she did have some limits and she had some gaps. But we worked hard, right, Pretty? We did it small group, whole group. We did one-to-one, and she was eager. She was willing to work. So I was telling her parents, I was like blown away when I was testing her, and she's like, she knows that she picked it up and she's getting faster. Like, wow. Well, she moved up in that little scale. She moved up by 2 levels. So and it's only a few months. I was like, yay! So we were so excited. So thank you, parents and grandparents who are supporting her and pushing her forward. She's a success because of, just this roundness of support that just pushes her forward. Awesome. Yes, thank you. You want to say something? Okay. She'd like to say something.
Thank you, always me. And I always like my parents because they always make me happy. So my mom got me this dress and I love them.
And they always make her happy.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Dr. Isageti, you want to come on up? There.
One, two, three. Okay, 1, 2. Thank you.
Thank you so much, parents, for all you're doing with your students at home. Thank you, teachers. We appreciate the hard work that you put in every day. It's the fruits of your labor are paying off, and we really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Thank you, board.
Thank you all. All right, we move now to item 6C2, which is the calendar update. Dr. Pettis.
Okay, there's been a lot of talk about the calendar. We did the surveys back in November for students and staff and parents. And the DEIC committee has been working very closely with Dr. Sandoval and the team. And so we finalized it to 2 options. And we've sent that to all the teachers and staff, the 2 options. And it's the same for the kids on either way, on either option. But Dr. Sandoval will be bringing a recommendation to you once we do the final survey, which will be by teachers and staff, and that should be rolling out like tomorrow, right? Probably tomorrow. That'll be coming out. And it's really just to decide between 1 and 2. And it doesn't affect the students, it doesn't affect the parents at all. So we'll have more information. We'll have more information about the details about the surveys that were conducted in November when we bring the final recommendation. Just wanted to kind of update everyone. You did receive a copy of the 2 options.
All right, we move now to item 3, which is the ADA update. Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr. President, Dr. Pettis, trustees, you see on the first slide, you see our enrollment as of yesterday at 2,592 hasn't veered very much. We've received some students, and some students have left the district for other school districts. As you can see, HMK is at 922, Gillette is at 454, Harvey 525, Harold at 309, and Bettis is at 382. The question you might ask is like, okay, do we know where they're going? Well, the system we implemented on slide number 2 is that, you have it in front of you, I'm sorry, is that as soon as they leave the district, they come and mom says, hey, we're leaving the district, we're going to Gregory Portal. We implemented the system a year ago, which is really good news for accountability, and I'll show you right now, that as soon as they leave, we give them a couple of days, and then the attendance clerks and counselors, everybody involved starts calling and see, okay, are you a GP? Are you enrolled? We call, and they say, yeah, I'm here. We call GP and send a verification of enrollment and make sure that they're there. And that way they're off our books. They're not our student anymore. And of course, not that I'm saying we're trying to keep them away, but it's legit that they're somewhere. Sometimes, of course, they change their phone number. They give you the wrong address, and we do have to look for them. But as of right now, this is where we're at right now. This is only a little piece of where we're at. The ones in white mean we haven't confirmed that they're somewhere else. And the ones in yellow means they are confirmed. We sent the VOE, verification enrollment, to the school, and they verified that they are there. So that is a plus for us. That is something that was required by TEA, but we implemented before TEA asked us to do it. So we're in a good spot. If we go to the next slide, you'll see how it helped us out. And as you can see on the 23-24, we had only 29 kids compared to last year, which was 71, and the year before, which was 104. We had 29 kids that we would consider dropouts. Bad thing about that number is they were supposed to be enrolled by the last Friday in September, and I would say 8 of them came in the next week. And that's it. That's exactly, I've seen it before, and that's what I was pushing, and it just so happened. And oh well, and they still would go under dropout. They're a dropout that's in school, But 29 will take it for 1 year of staying up with this. It's a real good number. 2.1, we're below the state average of 2.5, 2.4. So it took a lot of hard work from the department, CIS, liaisons, Mr. Segovia, everybody involved, Maria Cantu, everybody involved, helped us recruit. So this is, I think we should be proud of where we're at right now, especially with this number 2.1 and moving forward. We did this in 1 year, so I think I'm proud of it, and I don't know if you guys are, but we should. We're moving forward. So, we go to the next slide. Of course, we got the attendance. Considering kind of like the rough weather we've had the past couple of weeks, and our district nurse sending out an email saying, you know, COVID's back, be careful. We've hung in there in the 90s. Moving again, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, we'll get past this. I'm foreseeing a good spring of attendance, just because we already have kids in truancy court. They've already gone once, and they're getting better. You know, that's the results I'm seeing. Of course, we do have a couple of kids at the high school who were tough, and I've already taken them twice, and we'll probably go again. But I do foresee a good spring, and our attendance moving forward. Going up, yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want you to go into more detail with the truancy part. I know that's something we just added. You said that it's getting better. Can you?
Well, if you go to the next page real quick, I just put one sample, and I'll go more. This is just one sample of a student in our district. As you can see, the red means they were absent. The green means they were excused absences. After December, like the week of December 11th and 14th, when they were served with truancy, court papers, they haven't missed a day of school. And there's some kids at the high school that'll miss a period or a couple of periods, or still miss, but they overall improved, I would say. And again, but there's a couple that are tough, and what are you gonna do? But all in all, I think the program is working. We just got to keep going with it. Again, very, very proud of the work we did in the first year, getting the dropout rate down, which is a huge accomplishment. And I think if we just continue with this, continue what we're doing, I think we're going to end up in a real good place.
Of the kids that y'all brought in, as far as them, coming back to school, that you were able to find, are they being successful coming in, grade-wise, attendance-wise? Some of the hard to get is what I'm asking.
Yes, sir, Mr. Redelis, I was just thinking about that. I needed to have that information for you, because I was thinking from 71 to 29, I would like to know, okay, did we do a good thing? Or did we bring in problems? But then again, we shouldn't consider them problems. We should do everything we can to get them an education. So I will work on that information, Mr. Medina, because that is something I want to know as well. But I will have that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
And we'll do that as we're also bringing some to the CARES program, which seems to be very successful right now for the majority of our students. So we think that it's a good program.
I visited CARES, and I was very, very impressed with us. Very impressed.
And that's a question I had. Does CARES come into play before they're declared a dropout, or only afterwards? I mean, is it a preventative measure that if there's a student that has extenuating needs, or is working or doing something?
Yes, sir.
Prior to them becoming classified as a dropout, does CARES step in and work with them?
We talk about it.
Yes, sir. We meet as a committee. I go to the high school. I talk to Dr. Williams. Eric's in there too. We look at the circumstances of each of the students. They apply, and we try to get them way before they get on the dropout list.
I think this is a success that the dropout rate is down on its own because of the work that y'all are doing, but also because of the CARES Academy. And I think across the board, that's just a
Thank you. We graduated the first cohort was 30. We graduated 28. 2 of them are going to be graduating already. We have a number of 28 already for the second cohort. We've already got 5 of those already waiting for graduation.
fantastic job. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And there's some things that don't get noticed either, and I know y'all not in for recognition, but the calls that I received from Ms. Moreno, Max, Ms. Williams from Gillette, and I'm sure if there was others that would call me, since I work with the community, I know the services that are out there, you all go way and beyond to help these kids, and that's part of the work, that's part of the work, showing, caring, and these kids will show up. So And I know you all don't do it for, let me know, mention my name, no, but thank you all, what you all do
You're welcome.
in that.
We look for all the resources that could possibly help with being more successful.
From Ghana's, right?
From Ghana.
From Ghana's.
There you go.
Now, the dropout rate, unfortunately, we won't see it on our accountability rate until the following year. You know, it's always a year behind. It's a lagging indicator, but at least we can see that there's progress over the past 3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I would like to say, I don't want to minimize what you're doing because you're doing a great job. I'm very proud of it. But what you provided us here in this calendar, the fact that February and March is included, I like the way you colored the 25th of January yellow, but it should all be colored because those days haven't happened yet. So it makes it look like when I first looked at this, there's a whole lot of days where the people showed up, but they haven't happened yet.
Okay,
I guess just don't include the months that
okay.
haven't happened.
Yes, yes,
That's it.
yes, sir. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, for all the work that you're doing and the whole team is doing.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move now to item 6D, which is the budget recap report and the check register for December 2023. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Gufall. I'm just going to point out a couple of items on the first page. Curriculum Associates, that's a meeting, math and reading curriculum, that was approved by the board earlier in the year. Claiborne County Appraisal District, we pay that quarterly, so that's a little over $300,000 a year. That every entity that collects taxes needs to pay proportionally the appraisal district to collect, to appraise all of the properties. And we also pay the tax assessor every year to collect our taxes, also around $20,000 to collect all our taxes for the year. National Glazing Solutions, that is security film on the inside of all of our doors. That was paid through the general fund, but now that we have received a grant, we're looking at trying to getting that reclassified in the grant so that it doesn't stay in the general fund. The service center, every year we pay for TEACS resources, and that's the majority of that cost right there. The next two items are all laptops, Chromebooks. This is over 400 of them, 418, and we had around 200 earlier in the year. Every year since now we need to have devices to test students. We're going to have to be replacing some devices every year. This year was about 600, but every year technology will do an inventory and we will need to replace devices every year. And then the last one I want to point out is Corpus Christi ISD. That is an annual fee that we pay for students' tuition to the Texas Regional School for the Deaf in Corpus Christi. I'll take any other questions you have on the check register. Yes, Mr. Chapa.
I'm sorry, I should know the answer to this right now. What campuses are using the Curriculum Associates, the software?
Let me defer to instruction.
Our third through eighth grade, so the 3 elementaries in the middle school.
What's the software that's being used?
It's iReady. Yes, sir, and we're using it for our House Bill 1416.
Is there any data that we can see on that? Is there that we can, that shows the progress on students?
Yes, sir, we just took the MOY, so I can pull the data for that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Farrar, are you satisfied with this? I mean, the only reason I ask is it's a lot of money, but what can we do as a board to help you? I mean, do you think it's the right tool for the job?
Yes, sir. So what they've been, do you need to put this on?
Dr. Farrar, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was trying. So the program is used to facilitate the 1416 requirements. So while our teachers play small group, they're able to print pre-made lessons. The students take a VO-wide assessment, which helps put them into groups. And then it also helps to accelerate the students that are doing well. So everybody spends time during their accelerated instruction time on that program. We also have usage reports that are being pulled. for that, so I can pull, like usage reports and how our students are doing, to determine whether or not it's as successful as we, need it to be.
Is it are we in a contract with them, or when is it?
At the end of the school year. So when we renew all of our programs, we'll look into all of those pieces now that we have more data to collect.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
sir.
at the end of every year, they do a usage report inventory, and we've actually eliminated some programs over the past 3 years that we didn't find effective. And, but this one seems to be helping with the House bill that we are
1460.
required to keep log of in case the state comes and say, you know, are you all
Tutoring.
doing this? So it helps us track that. But at the end of the year, we're not gonna spend money if it's not gonna be effective. There's so many programs out there that, you know, are knocking at our door to say, we can do a better job. So we definitely look at the fidelity of them.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Pitts?
Yes, sir.
Just a question. When we pay the university, you have here 6,000 plus, right?
Yes, sir.
That's for the whole season?
That is for the whole season for security for the football games. We are required when we lease the facility to use their security. But yes, that's for the whole season for security.
So who negotiates that contract or that agreement with the university?
That agreement has pretty much been set since way before I got here. The rates are the standard rates that they charge with every entity, not just us. They have I believe, it's $50 per hour for security that they charge. And that's a lot, but that's their going rate that they charge every entity.
I just know we pay them a year, is it 60?
We pay them $50,000 a year for use of the facility for football games.
5 games?
Well, also for some JV games, JV too.
Yeah, there you go. We're just taking some money out of I don't mind paying it, but we're taking out of our athletic program, I believe, right? Those are monies that I think our athletic program can use. Just something that maybe we can go back to them and
Mr. Garcia and I can try to go back to them and see if they'll budge at all on that. It's worth trying, right?
Dr. Pitts, a question, and I'm gonna try to make this as delicate as I can in lieu of FERPA. The payment that we make to CCISD, is that a co-op payment whether we use it or not, or is it an as-used fee?
It is an as-used fee.
That's all I need to know.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions about the check register? If not, thank you, Dr. Pitts. We'll move on now to item number 7, which is new business. Item 7A, by common consent, the board agrees to consider as one action item the following that can be found on page 19 to 21, the approval of the regular board meeting minutes of December 11th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve? Motion made by Mr. Garcia.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Ruiz. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Item number 7B, discussion and possible action regarding National School Counseling Week proclamation. This can be found on page 22 and 23 of our packet. Dr. Bessanies.
Good evening, Mr. Kufal, Dr. Bettis, and members of the board. The proclamation for National School Counselors Week is as follows. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further their education, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, And whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive development school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Kingsville Independent School District do hereby proclaim the week of February the 5th through the 9th of 2024 as National School Counselors Week.
All right, Board. All right, Board, you've heard the proclamation. Is there a motion to approve the proclamation?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Morales,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Chapa. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you for that motion, and we've got some counselors here that we'd like to recognize.
3 of our school counselors are able to come this evening. Come on down, ladies. So I can definitely speak in behalf of our counselors. They work diligently every day to ensure that they meet the needs of all of our students.
We have the leader of the HMK counselors who is leading so well. We also have the one that's in the largest elementary school, and she has just been working so extremely hard as well. And then we have, of course, Bettis Elementary, and you need to go see what she's doing with her lunch bunch. So thank you so much for everything y'all are doing that people don't even see. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
All right, Board, we move now to item 7D, which is the discussion and possible action regarding the order for the general school trustee election for May 4th, 2024. This will be found on page 25 to 28 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal. The board needs to take official action to order the election, and this will be the board's last official action regarding the board election on May the 4th. After that, there are several other things that need to be done by the district. We will need to post a notice in the paper at least 10 days before, but no more than 30 days prior to the election, so we will take care of that. We will be posting stuff on our website. We will be posting stuff on the front door of the administration building as well. Again, right now, candidates still have until February the 16th to turn in applications. And again, there's a schedule of when the office hours are open up on the front door and on our website as well too. We are required to partner with the city or the county or a hospital district or a water authority to hold our elections in conjunction with them. We have to be in the same location, but we have separate elections. They're going to be on one side of the room. We're going to be on the other side of the room with our own voting machines, with our own judges and everything. So we run our own election, but again, we are required by Texas election code to use the same facilities. And you see which facilities we're using for the election day, May the 4th on Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Again, all of that will be posted as we get closer to the election, but the city will be in those same sites, and you see a lot of them are our own buildings. But again, it is on a Saturday, so it won't impact any school operations. And then the early voting is, again, the dates for that are set by the state. That's Monday through Friday, and then a Monday and a Tuesday afterwards from 8 to 5, and that will be right over here where it always is in the snack bar over there, conference room number 4. That's where the early voting will be for those days. I'll take any questions that you may have.
All right, Board, you've heard the presentation. Do I hear a motion that we approve the order for the general school trustee election for May 4th, 2024?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Garcia.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Chapa. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Item 7E, thank you, Dr. Pitts.
You're welcome.
Item
sir.
7E, discussion and possible action regarding the designated non-business days, Texas Public Information Act, PIA, page 29. Dr. Sandoval.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal, Board Trustees, Dr. Pettis. I'm here today to present to you the designated non-business days according to the Texas Public Information Act. Back in 2023, the Texas legislature passed House Bill 3033, amending the Texas Public Information Act, PIA. The new statute clarifies the term business days and significantly impacts how governmental entities calculate response deadlines for public information requests. Under the PI, government body is required to promptly respond to public information requests within 10 business days. If it cannot meet the 10 business days deadline, it must inform the requester in writing. Prior to HB 3033, the term business days was not explicitly defined, but the Texas Attorney General consistently ruled that any day when a government body was closed or operated with limited staff was not considered business day. So effective September 1st, 2023, the law was changed to create a definition for what a business day was under PEI, overturning the previous interpretation. So now we've got to designate the 10 days that we are going to designate as our non-business days as a district. We brought this to you last year for the last 5-6 months of 2023. So now we're bringing the dates to you for the 2024 calendar. So some of the things to take into consideration when determining what days we are going to be selecting. Any day that is a national holiday is already factored in as a non-business day. A state holiday, days such as Good Friday, the Friday after Thanksgiving, the 24th of December, and the 26th of December is also factored in. And the Friday or Monday before a national holiday that actually is a Saturday or Sunday, those days are actually counted as well, as long as we recognize that as a national holiday or vacation, a holiday. So we are proposing 10 days as part of our recommendation, and these give us strategic opportunities for us when we're on a break for some, spring break or Christmas or anything like that. It allows us to come back and not be behind the 8 ball in terms of how many days we have left to fill the requirement. So the days we're proposing are March the 14th and 15th, which are 2 days out of our spring break. July the 3rd and the 5th, so that week when we are all off as KISD district, we only have 2 days that will actually count towards business days. November the 25th, 26th, and 27th. So that whole week of November that we are off will not count towards business days. And then December the 23rd, 26th, and 27th, 3 days, including the Christmas Day and Christmas Eve, would not count towards business days. So there'd be almost like 4 to 5 days within that calendar that might count towards it, depending on when we bring the calendar for the 2025 school year and whether those days in January may count towards our exempt days or non-designated days. So the administration recommends to the Board of Trustees the above 10 non-business days is proposed for the 2024 business or calendar year. I'll answer any questions at this time.
All right, Board, you've heard the presentation. Is there a recommendation or a motion to adopt these 10 business days?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Ruiz, seconded by Ms. Salinas. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sandoval. 7F, discussion and possible action regarding the 2023-2024 application for staff development minutes waiver. This can be found on pages 30 to 32 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Gufall. We are required to provide 75,600 minutes of instruction to all students. Failing that, we lose revenues for each minute proportionally that we have less than 75,600. Every school district is allowed to submit a waiver for professional development days, those hours and minutes to be counted toward the 75,600. Although only days that are after the first school day actually count for that waiver. We have 1,440 minutes of professional development that we offer on Fridays that can actually be counted toward those minutes. Even though we have over 75,600 minutes in our calendar from Monday through Thursday, this allows us, these extra minutes provides us a cushion, a buffer, whenever there is bad weather for our district so that we don't dip below the 75,600 minutes and lose funding. I'll take any questions that you might have.
All right, board, you've heard the presentation and the recommendation that we approve the 2023-2024 application for staff development minutes waiver. Is there a motion to so approve?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Garcia,
I'll second.
seconded by Ms. Salinas. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion,
How about opposed?
motion carries 6-1. Item number 8. Thank you, Dr. Pitts.
You're welcome.
The board is now going to enter into closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071 and 551.074 to deliberate and consider the following. 8A, consider and deliberate with legal counsel regarding legal and personnel matters. No action will be taken until we return to open session. We are entering closed session at 6:47 p.m.
Try it.
We now return to open session to take necessary action on matters which the board may discuss in open session and upon which action may be taken. We are returning to open session at 7:23 p.m. There being no further action, we are going to return to item 6.1, which is the CNI update, including the taper and federal accountability. This can be found on page 8 and the taper handout in our packet. Dr. Farah.
Okay, as she's pulling up her PowerPoint, just wanted to, before she starts, reiterate that this information is the official taper report, which comes out every year through TEA, but it has the same information that we presented on 9/12 to the board, which is a preliminary information. So in some instances, we maybe scored a couple of percentages better because they tightened the data. But nevertheless, it's not the first time that we're presenting it, okay? Now, we are gonna present, we're gonna make sure that y'all see the 3-year data as far as looking at actual students, especially our 3rd graders, because we've had them, we're looking at from 2021, which is when we returned from COVID, 2022 and 2023. And so once we get to that part, I want to make sure that we look at the diagonal flow of the groups of students that we're tracking. Okay, Dr. Farah?
Okay, good evening, Board President Kufal, Dr. Bettis, board members. We're going to start presenting with the K2, and the teachers that we introduced today are just some of the teachers that are doing great work here at KISD. We're super excited to be in the K2 classrooms. Currently, our students are taking middle of the year M-class, and so we're pulling that data to determine growth from BOY to MOY. We also have a consultant coming in, working with our K through 2 teachers. She's been working with them on small group and guided reading. Then we had a consultant come in, Dr. Woodruff, and present to our K through 3 teachers on foundational skills, professional development, and the CNI team created station activities for all of our 3rd through 5th grade teachers, as well as our K2 teachers. We're also providing them with resources for fluency. The next thing I'm going to go into is our taper report. It's a comprehensive reporting system. It's been in place since 1991. It really looks at the overall district and campus performance, a profile, how our current LEP students are doing. It also, it has the data to determine accountability ratings, except for this school year, we were not given accountability ratings. And the data is collected through PEAMS and through our student assessment information.
So let me reiterate that ratings have not been issued to any school or any district in the state of Texas. No ratings have been issued. One question that Mr. Kufal had was LEP, if we can explain what LEP is.
I'm sorry, it's our limited English proficient students, which now are called emergent bilingual students. This is the slide that Dr. Pettis wanted to really have us look at vertically. So if you look in 2021 at our 3rd grade students at the approaches level, they scored 55%. But in 2022, that cohort as 4th graders, approaches was 66%. And in 2023, that cohort went up again to 68%. So if you look vertically at the achievement of that cohort of students, we are seeing some increases in the data.
Quick question before we move on there. 55, 66, 68. That 68 is the redesigned online have to write answers test, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And if you look at the 60% approaches for third grade in 2023 with the 2.0 assessment, our students fared very well. They had to write an extended constructed response on an argumentative reading on a paired passage. So what that means is it's the first time in third grade that they had to answer questions about two passages that had the same theme. Then they had to answer questions about one of the stories, then the other story, then both stories, and then they had to write an opinion extended constructed response. And this is the first time third graders ever had argumentative text, paired passages, and an extended constructed response. I am super proud of our third grade students for having that 60%. They did an amazing job. And that's just a reflection of our teachers.
And looking at the meets,
The 37%.
the masters on a redesigned test, we gotta give some kudos to those third grade students and their teachers.
Absolutely. They did a great job. So what we see at the bottom of that are the benchmarks. And so what we looked at is, it says February of 2023. So this was last year's benchmark as it compares to this year's benchmark 1. So in November, we had our first benchmark in 2023. You can see that we still have work to do. We're making progress, but our students are already higher or performing higher than they did last year in February. So this February assessment is the same assessment that they took this year in November, and they're already performing higher. So we're making progress.
In addition to that, the benchmark 1 from February 2023 is the same they took in 2 months, they took the real test.
Yes, that is
So
correct.
The benchmark shows 17, 14, 24 approaches, and yet we got much higher numbers than that.
Yes, sir.
Is that a function of the benchmark is teaching the whole thing, some of which may not have been covered yet, or the benchmark is maybe tougher than the actual test, or something else?
So what I think the difference is we know and understand 2.0 a little bit better. We also have the teachers that they've been training on text-dependent questions and how that relates to an extended constructed response. I will say that for benchmark 1 in November, we did pull out a few questions. However, with our ELA, we didn't pull out that many questions as compared to the February one, because the RLA TEKS are recursive. And so we've been teaching most of those standards. What I like about having this November benchmark is that we've been able to pull that data so that we can really hone in on the students that need support and in what area they're needing that support. Did I answer?
You did.
Okay.
And what's scary about this is if you had a February test that had those numbers and the real numbers came out that great, and you have a November test with that much better numbers, Dr. Farrell, we're expecting great things.
No.
Pressure. Well, we'll see how it goes in February, and then some of the adjustments that we'll continue to make based on the data.
We gotta keep growing.
Yes.
The trend over these 3 years is growth, and that's been happening, and we've gotta keep moving that direction.
Next, we'll be looking at the math data. The top part is the taper again, and it's across the 3 years. And if you look at third grade, you'll see again increases from 55% to 58% to 59% for that for the third grade cohort. So you'll see increases every year. The bottom section is again our benchmark data. Now we do have some needs improvement in our fourth grade math all along, across the district. However, remember that fourth grade TEKS are new. So The third grade kind of wraps up what they've been learning, K1, 2. Fourth grade, they introduce new standards. And then they work on the standards, or they continue to work and grow the standards through sixth grade. We do have specific support for teachers in fourth grade. And this is using our new Eureka curriculum as well.
Dr. Fair, I had a question on that. Is it, so you're not using the state release benchmark, you're using our own?
So this benchmark for this first one is the same one that we used in February. And last year we created it using sample items that TEA had released. In February, we will be using the 2023 released assessment, STAR assessment. We already have it set up in Eduphoria.
Sorry, you said you created it by what?
Release sample items that the state put out through Cambium, which is our testing platform. Yes, sir.
Dr. Farah, our fourth grade, the approaches was 40% in February 2023, and then it came up to 30, it went down to 38, right? What are we doing? Their support, what support are we gonna offer our fourth graders, teachers, to start being on target or?
Sure, absolutely. So our CNI team has created bell ringers to use to get the students used to the standards. So they looked at the assessment, they looked at highly tested TEKS that our students didn't perform as well as we wanted them to on, and they're bringing them back so that the students are seeing them daily. They've also worked with the teachers to look at how can we pull our students into small group in fourth grade. And then we have one of our coaches specifically working with fourth grade teachers, either going in to help model or to provide coaching and feedback.
But even the teachers, when y'all met with them, they talked about, okay, I'm stronger in reading or I'm stronger in math. And then you all even looked at the grouping of them. The principals led a lot of that with the CNI team, which I thought was very bold. And, I love that from the teachers.
Absolutely. And then our third grade and our fifth grade are doing very well, according to this data. We're going to move to middle school reading language arts. And if you see our sixth grade cohort, they went from 39% approaches as sixth graders to 66% approaches as seventh graders. And as eighth graders, they went to 68% approaches with the new 2.0. So if we're following that cohort, sixth grade in 2021 was 39%. Then they were seventh graders in 2022 at 66%. And then they were eighth graders at 68%.
And looking at that meets also looks like it was increasing.
Yes, we went from 11 to 41 to 44 at that meets.
So looking at seventh grade, they were in 2021, they were at 46%. And then they took a dip in 2022. So we need to see how they did in algebra. So we're looking at every single grade level and looking at that diagonally. Correct?
Correct. And so for our reading language.
65%, sorry.
Yes, so for our reading language arts, seventh grade dipped and it needs improvement. So we're working specifically with the seventh grade teachers and the sixth and eighth grade teachers are on their way. They're on target.
Dr. Fair.
Yes.
So no one on target there. Tell me what you're thinking there. What's
No one on target for the reading language arts?
The benchmark?
Is that for the benchmark? Is that the question you're asking?
No, we're not on this one here, medium.
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Yeah, so no one on target. I was just wondering that you catch you to talk about that and what are we doing? I mean, I'm sure that's a concern for you, right?
Absolutely. And so our specialists and our coach for Gillette are in those classrooms. They divided the teachers up. They're working with the teachers on modeling. We've also created bell ringers for our teachers. We've also worked with them on the extended constructed response and have put together strategies for our teachers to use with that extended constructed response. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question also.
Uh-huh.
when you're using the legend on target, makes progress, needs improvement, that is just on the final number, not how much improvement it's made.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So we're looking at the benchmark from last year. Let's look at sixth grade. The benchmark in February was at 19%, but their actual score, when they had the actual star, was at 60%, and their meets was at 37%.
But I didn't look at the benchmarks vertically, if that's what Mr. Glusine was asking. Although they went from 19% approaches to 33% approaches.
Right.
However, I want more.
Well, that's what it's based on the final number.
Yes,
not
sir.
Based on the percentage of improvement.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I mean, because they did improve, if you go vertically. but
Yes,
They did not meet as high.
that is correct. And so we're really honing in on specifically looking at how are those questions being asked? What types of questions? Looking at the rigor of the questions, and does the rigor match the rigor of our standards, our TEKS?
And I think you've addressed this at a prior meeting. The benchmarks they're taken online with having to write questions or answers out.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Star formatted.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. So let's look at middle school math. In 2021, our sixth grade cohort was at 36% approaches and 4% meets. As seventh graders, they did dip in the approaches, but they increased in the meets area. And then as eighth graders, they increased again in the approaches and stayed the same in their meets, and their masters went up 1%. So we are still showing growth at middle school. If you look at our benchmark, we're specifically looking at seventh grade. Seventh grade, we have one of our coaches going in there every day, modeling and working with creating exemplars for with those teachers to ensure that the teachers are understanding the depth and rigor that needs to occur in the classroom. We have had some sickness lately, and we were supposed to do our skills check, and I was going to bring that data. However, they just took it today, so I hadn't had a chance to run that data to see where we're at since this November benchmark. And yeah, we had the freeze and then COVID and the flu's happening, so I have not had a chance to process that data.
This is one of our major concerns.
Yes, very, very much so.
Yes, seventh grade especially. The CNI team that's going in to model into those classes, whether the teacher's there or not, they're gonna stay there because it just has to continue. So we are very, that is our biggest concern.
And we're looking at what's going to benefit our students the most, and having an adult that knows the curriculum that can teach the mathematics in that classroom, whether it's co-teaching with the teacher or if it's a substitute there, we're making sure that we have somebody in that classroom, in the seventh grade classrooms.
Is the seventh grade teacher the same one from last year, or is this?
We have, yes, sir, both are from last school year.
And we had a lot of support that went in there last year because of some of the same concerns. And so we're doing it again this year, so we are documenting.
Eighth grade is on a roll, and Algebra 1 is doing, even though it's lower than last year's Algebra 1, they're doing well. We did have a staffing change in Algebra 1 when all of the benchmarking was going on. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Benchmark 2 is going to look for Algebra 1 at the middle school. Okay, we have high school reading, English language arts. So from English 1 in 2021 to English 2 in 2022, there was an increase. Again, there was an increase from 2022 to 2023 in the approaches and the meets areas. In Benchmark 1, for English 1, we have 2 teachers that are new to the grade level, one that's new to teaching. So our coach is in there. They took a day with Dr. Williams and Miss Golding and Miss Bruce Beltran, and they looked at the curriculum. They broke it apart. They looked at what TEKS needed to be taught, and they created plans and questions that they were going to be asking for the semester, or for the through March, I believe they planned for English 1. Also, our coach, Ms. Golding's going into English 1, and she's working with the teachers. She's meeting with them. She's looking at their text-dependent questions and then modeling as needed. English 2, the data's on track. We're hoping that they also have another coach working with them. So we're looking forward to seeing gains.
So English 1 is our other major concern, and mainly when you have new staff in the entire subject.
Yes.
That's a big concern, and so we have to be giving them as much support as we possibly can.
Algebra 1 at the high school, it's hard to compare vertically because it's different students every time, but we do know that for the benchmark, they are on target and they're making progress. Dr. Ballesteros, the math team, are working with our Algebra 1 teachers to ensure that they have bell ringers, exit tickets. They're going in and pulling small groups with the teachers. And we've even combined 2 classes. One of the coaches is in there, and they're just running stations and rotations to make sure that the students have the foundational pieces that they need. Okay, so we have our middle school, elementary, and biology, high school sciences. If you look at our 5th grade and our 8th grade benchmarks, they're on target. They're doing very well as compared to last school year, and we're making progress in biology. And then finally, our middle school and high school social studies. We are working with our 8th grade social studies, and one of the pieces that we need to really hone in on is the academic vocabulary, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, because the students are going to be seeing similar words from 6th through 8th grade social studies, and that's one of the pieces that we're working on. We've also worked with the AVID, Jeremy Torres. He's presented AVID strategies, Annotating, thank you, long day. Annotating as they're working in their social studies era, their eras.
I met yesterday at the Gillette Table Talks, some of them were the social studies teachers. And one thing they did ask, and if you hear my robocall from today, is going to be if parents can help show our students the 7 continents. Many of the students are struggling with knowing their world, what the continents are, what the states are, countries, things like that. And so the more practice they can get with that, we're going to try to push that as much as possible. You did? Good. Or they may think that Washington is in Washington, D.C. Those types of things that we really need to expose them to as much as possible.
So we've started tracking our EOC retest data, and the pink up at the top, that is our 2023 retest data. That includes our summer and December retest preliminary scores. And we are looking at growth from the summer and December of 2022 data. So in the accountability for 2024, it includes, when it comes to our EOC retest, it includes the summer, the fall, the December retest, and then our spring test. And so we're tracking that data. Our goal is to decrease the number of students that have to retest after the spring. That being said, we are increasing the number of students that are approaching on the STAR. In fact, for English 1, in this last December EOC, we had 23 students that approached, and that's one of the highest numbers we've had in a while. So even though, I mean, it's hard work, and our English 3 and English 4 teachers are working diligently to support our retesters as well as our upper level mathematics teachers to help with our Algebra 1 retesting.
And we pulled up data from 2018 and 2019 also. We wanted to go back even farther. And the average we're looking at is a 15% passing rate or approaches rate. So, you know, we're seeing some gains. That is a harder demographic to make sure that we reach and give them all the interventions. But I guess over the 5-year period prior to COVID and then now, we're getting there for sure. We're increasing in a lot of them, but there's still some we need to work on, especially English. English seems to be the hardest because of the redesign of that.
Dr. Farrell, I have a
Yes.
question.
Mhm.
Algebra 1, in 2022, you had 154 students. And in 2023, you had 93.
So this includes the summer. In the summer, they didn't have a lot of retesters. And what we are looking at in the fall, we looked at, did they receive tutoring, their tutoring that they were required to receive? Did they already pass the course? And then if they were doing well, they did retest.
So we had some kids that didn't retest.
Correct.
They felt they weren't ready and we.
And we want to make sure they feel successful. And in the spring though, everybody's testing that is needing to test. Now, if a student had asked, I mean, it's open to any student, but we really honed in on the ones that were ready, that received their tutoring, their 14-16 tutoring.
The same with biology.
Yes.
Because a lot of kids weren't prepared.
They were not coming into tutoring. They may not have had their tutoring. Also, the numbers weren't as high for biology. We recaptured a lot in the spring for biology. So our numbers weren't as high as they were the previous year.
So is there something that then exempts, like if they're not ready and they're present in school that day? How does that work out if?
They're not counted as testers.
They're not counted, just don't count.
Correct.
Even though they're present.
As long as they take the test in the spring.
Right, they'll take the test in the spring.
If they're seniors, they're gonna take it no matter what.
Right, the seniors took it no matter what.
So
Mhm.
you don't think it's better to give them every chance for them to test?
So what we're seeing is success for those students that are receiving tutoring. The outcomes are increasing for the ones that are receiving tutoring. We had some students that aren't receiving the tutoring, they're not going to tutoring, and then they're gonna take a test that they haven't reviewed. So we're trying to set our students up for success as opposed to failure. In the spring, everybody's testing, and we have a plan that we're working on with the high school to try to set them up for success.
Now, it was a motivator for them to see that those kids that have been going to tutoring and that have been putting forth the effort actually passed. A lot of them, you know, more than what they had been, but, you know, a lot of them are absent too. There are some of our attendance problems. So it just depends on which kids we're looking at.
So it almost seems then like, for the kids that were not being able to get ready for the test and that didn't test, that when they're in class, it seems like we're gonna have to use class time then, some class time to prep them. Is that what, maybe what's gonna be one of the plans or?
So what we've done for all of our content areas, we've created bell ringers, and it's STAR Prep, it's TSIA Prep, it's helping our students think at a different level.
The very first assignment. And then also, Dr. Williams, didn't you didn't you make sure on your master schedule that the retesters are with certain groupings, right? Rearranging those.
Okay, so I'm going to go over the next steps after all this data information we provided for you. So one of the first things we did in CNI is we conducted data meetings with each campus administration in December. So when we talk about a data meeting, we not only took the data that you saw today, but we disaggregated that data by campus, by grade level, by classroom teacher. So we could see with our teams exactly how our teachers were performing within our campuses and who we needed to target for support. So we met with our administration, all the principals are here. CNI developed a reset plan, which is when actually we collaborated with them on a reset plan for the second semester. Our administrators then turned around and gave us feedback. They went further to their campuses and their teachers to talk about what was going to be the reset plan when we came back from Christmas. And so they either edited the plan, got the support from their teachers to be prepared to launch our reset plan in January. The CNI team also worked for 2 weeks daily on adjusting the pacing guides, creating the resources that Dr. Farah mentioned, and bell ringers, exit tickets, and station activities for teachers so that teachers can simply implement them.
Can you explain what a bell ringer is, just in case people
Okay.
are wondering?
Dr. Farah, she's the expert on bell ringers.
So we looked at the highly tested standards, the TEKS, and then we looked at highly missed standards. And then we found questions that were star-like, and we added them or we sent them to the teachers, and every day they have a bell ringer that they should be using. As far as English language arts, what we did was a little bit different. We sent them a short passage to read, and every day they had to either they read it, they annotated it, they discussed it, and then they answered questions on the reading passages. So it looks a little different depending on if it's RLA or math or science.
And that's what they do when they immediately go into the class. So that's where
Correct.
bell ringer comes from. Yeah.
Yes.
I think also I want to just make note that the teachers, when they returned from the holidays and implemented the reset plan, they had all the curriculum information that they needed to simply implement the plan. So the team spent 2 solid weeks creating, developing, and ensuring that every teacher had on hand what they needed on day 1 when we returned from the Christmas break.
They laminated, cut,
Mhm.
copied.
Yes, everything. Yes, ma'am. The CNI team that created then the skills checks for the tested content. So we were still providing the skills check for them. So that is also important of our next steps with this reset plan. I know the principals, I remind them on Monday, it's Reset Monday. Are we going out there? Are you looking at your plans? Are you looking at our teachers? Do you need any additional help? Some of them respond, yes, Dr. B, can you send Dr. Farah or someone over here to help us with this, and that's what we're doing. It is all hands on deck right now for everyone to help every campus and every student.
Since our principals are here, do any of you want to add anything to this? To share? Y'all tired?
I think what I could add to that is.
If you want to come over here to the microphone?
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
more pressure now.
I would, first of all, good evening to everyone. But yes, I would like to take the opportunity to express the gratitude to our CNI department, because this has been a collaborative effort and it has been a reset. And so there's a bit changes that have taken, on our campuses with our teachers, but they're working, and we do have questions, and so we reach out and they do support us. And I think that's important that our teachers right now do feel that if they have any questions, they come to us, and then we seek for additional advice from our CNI. And so it's going good. I would like to say that, and thank you, Dr. Farah, and the team, and Dr. Besalas for your support.
Thank you.
Okay, on the next slide, what you'll see here is a CNI team, as Dr. Farah mentioned, are all assigned to very specific classrooms based on data to provide the coaching support. So here are how everyone is divided, and everybody in the CNI team is assigned a grade level and a subject. And we rotate daily to ensure that every classroom is visited where we saw the highest needs of support that is needed. The next slide reviews all the important dates that are coming up in January. And what you see here are the STAR field test will be conducted in February the 6th. We have the benchmark 2 will be coming up February the 26th. And then we have our 10-day STAR review will be in March the 25th. So I know the CNI team and our principals and our teachers also feel that we began the reset plan way before the 10-day STAR review. The data was disaggregated, and that is how that was conducted. So by the time we get to the 10-day review, will be just 10 days of reviewing before the exam. Then the following dates are all when STAR testing begins. Are there any questions on our first presentation?
I had a question about, are we continuing tutoring in the tested all the way through high school? Is that still going on from the fall and carrying over now?
Yes, it is. We have assigned tutors at our campuses. As Dr. Farah mentioned, we've had some consultants to come in to do pull-out tutoring with our students. So that is a continual piece that's happening. As we mentioned, some of our classrooms, I'll just use the middle school, for example, if the teachers are out for whatever reason and our staff is there, they're doing the actual instruction. Our team has had to voluntarily step out of our roles and go teach. If the teacher then is returning, then there's 2 adults in the classroom so that we can small group and do the tutoring piece. So yes, sir, that is continuing.
We had tutors in the elementaries and
Yes, they do.
and they're still on the payroll.
Yes,
all of them?
yes.
Good.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Some of them are our regulars. I mean, they've been here for a long time, every year.
Are there any additional questions to our first presentation? Okay, so we're going to move on to the second, which is our RDA, or Results-Driven Accountability. Dr. Farah will start.
So last year, I presented on our emergent bilingual, and last year we were a DL3. Emergent bilingual students or assessment data is looked at in 12 areas on the results-driven accountability system. This year, we are still a DL3. However, we have shown growth in both indicators. I'm a little upset at the fact that the English 1 and 2 rate increased. We increased the numbers, but the state took 3 years worth of data instead of the 2 years worth of data. And so using the 2021 data, it decreased our rate of improvement. So it may not look like we improved, but we really have improved. So what we did was we created, using the formula that the state uses to determine percentages to see if we passed, we looked at for instance, in 2022, in order for us to be a performance level 2, we would have needed 4 more emergent bilingual students to pass English 1 or 2. But in 2023, in order for us to be a performance level 2, we only needed 1 more student. So we have increased, however, our indicator level is a 3. For our TELPAS reading proficiency, we are a 2, which shows an increase. And in order for us to have been PL1, we only needed 1 more student to be out of the beginner rate and into the advanced area. So we are improving in that area. Our TELPAS composite rate for this year is report only, so we did not receive a performance level in that component. So these were the 3 performance levels that we were with last year and the 2 that we are in this year. So we are showing growth for our emergent bilingual students. We're going to continue working with our emergent bilingual students and the teachers. On February 16th, I've scheduled with the Education Service Center for the emergent bilingual consultant to come in and provide TELPAS training, what that is, how we can support our students, and how important it is to use the sheltered instruction strategies. We're working with our high school English teachers for English 1 and 2 to really monitor our emergent bilingual students and their data and the retesters. And we're also working with our English teachers to meet with our students and to make sure they're still setting those goals and tracking on their trackers for their assessments and
So
benchmarks.
about 3 years ago, there wasn't really a bilingual program here, and identifying the kids. And so some of these high school kids especially had not been receiving bilingual services.
So that
Throughout.
means you don't have to submit a plan to TEA because you're at 3.
I do. Yes, I had to last year and I have to again this year. Today was actually on the TEA meeting, and we're gonna have to set goals and create a plan. But the next steps are gonna be part of our plan. I know, I'm very sad about it. When I was calculating the data, I was like, yes, and then I went, "Meh." So that's okay. We're gonna get this done.
A little bit taller. Just a tiny bit. Okay, all right. Well, thank you all and good evening. So I'm actually want to shine a positive light on our special education program. Now, of course, as you'll see, we are considered a DL4 again this year. However, we also wanted to look at the data, and I wanted to show, for example, in math, for STAR 3 through 8 passing rate, this is one of the 18 indicators that special ed is looked at. Math was a 3 and then a 3, but we were only 2 students away from a performance level 2. So we were just right there. Reading, 3, stayed at a 3, but we were only 1 student away from a performance level 2. So we're so proud of our kiddos, that's actually truly shows a lot of progress. Science, it stayed again 3 to 3. We were 11 students away from a performance level 2. We actually improved in social studies. We were a 4, but now we're a 3. We were 6 students away from the performance level 2. The next one, STAR EOC passing grade, Algebra 1, went from a 2 to a 3. However, we were 2 students away from that performance level 2. Biology, we increased. We went from a 4 and then went down, number-wise to a 3. We were 9 students away from a performance level 2. U.S. history, we are so proud of our teachers and staff, CNI, and our special ed teachers. We went from a 2 to a 0. Now this actually has an RI next to it. What that means is required improvement. But with all of the formulas that they give us, we were provided a 0, and it just stated that because we've had so much improved progress, that's why we received the 0. The required improvement just means we need to keep going and with that progress. English 1 and 2, we stayed at a 4. We were 7 students away from a PL3. So that is definitely an area that we are hitting hard with and focusing in on our students. The next page, again, there's some highlights we'd like to show. Our graduation rate stayed from a 2 to a 2, but we were 3 students away from a performance level 1. Our dropout rate, this was a huge progress in special education. We went from a 3 to a 0. And again, we do have required improvement,
but they gave us that 0 due to the massive progress of our students. In fact, we even went from 8.1% down to 3.7% of students. Of course, we wanted a 0 for dropout rate, but that is a huge leap of progress there. Regular class, greater than 80%, we stayed at a 0, which has remained consistent, as well as regular class less than 40%, we remain consistent at a 1. This is, the next area is special education, total disciplinary removals. This is an area that our entire team is really looking at. We went from a 0 to a 2, okay? And we did put on here that in 2022, we had a 4.8% of students with removals. In 2023, it did go up to 39.3%.
Mrs. Zimmerman, I have a question, because that's huge.
Yes,
What do
ma'am.
you think is contributing to that? Do you think maybe is it mandatory, discretionary? Is it the vape law? Is it?
Well, and we are looking into a lot of those variables. I would say yes to all of those. There's a lot of new laws, yes, ma'am, that have and that's really across the state. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Because the new
Vape is a
vape
vape
laws
is a vape mandatory.
are
Correct.
required.
I know, yes, ma'am.
Mandatory.
Yeah, and some of those are mandatory. Okay,
And by
so,
removals, just in case anybody's wondering, that means like when you take a student and suspend them or put them at DAEP or an ISS, well, if they're fighting, you know, they're trying to crack down on fighting. If they're vaping or drugs, well, they're trying to crack down on that. But if they're special ed, we're gonna take a hit.
yeah. And we're definitely focusing in on the why from that disciplinary removal, meaning that actual behavior. So it's not just a removal. We want to help that child. What happened? Why did they demonstrate that behavior in the first place? So we have a lot rolling out right now for even additional support that we've been doing.
The manifestation determination is being done and
Yes,
everything.
correct.
So
Absolutely.
if it's not linked, that change.
Yes, ma'am. And that's where we're tied.
That's hard.
Yes. And those are laws.
Mr. Zimmerman, excuse me.
Yes,
What
sir.
are some reasons, in 2022, we had a dropout rate of 3, and now we're at 0. Okay, great. What were some of the reasons in 22? I don't know, I think you were here.
Yes, sir.
What were some of the reasons why we see such a high dropout? I mean, why were we at a level 3? Do we know, or?
Well, you know, I know that our district really was looking at that even back then, and just the district as a whole, looking at the dropout rate. Also, when we came on board, we were really focusing in on the child themselves and preventing or attempting to prevent that from there. And the data shows, you know, this progress, and it is working. As soon as a child demonstrates any difficulties, we're immediately on it. Yes, sir.
So it kind of mirrors what we're doing, like what Mr. Eric Gonzalez came up here. Our
Correct.
dropout rate has continued to get better, and it's gotten better here. We gotta keep that going.
Yes, sir.
I just want to add that I know there's been also some additional training and talks with our administrators that they know that if it's a SPED student and they're having issues, that they must contact our department so that we can assist, especially at the high school and junior high. That's when a lot of them were leaving for being unsuccessful at school or lots of attendance. Sometimes it's parents. I recall a conversation I had with a mom who was adamant about withdrawing their child. So I had them come to my office and I told Mom, what is Juan gonna do? She goes, he can work with me at the bakery. We get up at 3 and we are there cooking, and then he needs to work and he needs to come with me. And so I had explained to her in Spanish, you know, I understand you're such a hardworking mom, but if we don't start breaking the cycle and helping him get at least a high school diploma, then, you know, there is no really future for him. We also had a student from a high school that I know Odie has been working with. She graduated with all her credits 10 years ago, but she didn't pass her tax. So she's back saying, well, how can I get my diploma? Why? Because she's working at a nursing home now and they're willing to pay for her college, but she needs a high school diploma. So Odie's been working with her. She came to me. We're working on a plan, Ms. Moreno, so we can help her. So they are seeing, you know, that those students do have a future We just have to help them realize, and their parents. Sometimes it's just not them, it's their parents. So,
And those are the things that we need to, that we
yes.
need to do. People aren't gonna see that, Dr. Bessa.
I know.
They're not gonna see that.
A lot that's not seen.
Yeah, they're not seeing
A lot
that.
that's not seen.
And I do have to say, Ms. Moreno has taken a lot of our students and she gets support from
Oh, I know,
SPED.
I get a lot of
I know,
calls.
Yeah, and yeah, she is. And so, but, you know, and we are, you know, training our counselors on pathways for those students and what can they do to be college and career ready when they leave us.
So Dr. B, what do y'all do in a case like that? The child needed the tax, do y'all do an ITC or what?
Well, we're working on that. Actually, I call, if I may, Dr. Bettis, I called TEA and got 3 different answers from 3 different people. Oh, they're not
Write your name
listening.
down.
I know, but I ended up calling another district that had a lot of similar situations, and they are looking at their IGC ability. We just have to pull all of her data from 10 years ago, see how many times, and it was science that she hadn't passed. So, if, you know, it was science. We can't
And it
even,
was only by a couple of points.
yeah, a couple of points. So we're really hoping to help her.
Better
They-
than by ITC.
I know, yeah, but I wanted just to add that to give you some foundational pieces. Okay, go ahead.
I've got a question here about this report.
Mhm.
It says 22 to 2023, we've got a DL4.
Yes, sir.
Is that the year 2022 or is that year 2023?
This is our
Those are
20,
both years, right?
End
Every
of each year.
yes.
Then I have the question. In 2023, we only got 1-4. How do they average these things to give us a DL4?
Well,
Go ahead.
You might get 3 different answers.
and actually, we were about to review that, that there's a lot of formulas. We could do that in a workshop if you wanted to, work on your math, but, also though, if the cut point had not changed, all of this, you know, everything that changed this year, our numbers actually would have put us at a DL3.
That's
Okay,
that's
so-
what I was questioning.
Like,
Okay, so
it's
things
not fair.
change. I've got it. That's fine with me.
Yes, sir.
It's not fine with me. but I
Right.
understand it.
Understand, yes, sir. And so just to recap as well, you know, we were looking at the top 3 reasons for these performance levels to be at this range. You know, like I was just saying, the change of cut points was huge, obviously, across the board. Like I say, we would have actually been a DL3 this year if they wouldn't have changed the rules, you
Maybe
know?
next year.
I know, well, and if we continue on this path, that's what we are definitely planning to be, so we'll see. An increased number of students also taking the regular STAR instead of STAR Alt. So, for example, when we first got here, we had a lot of our students taking the STAR Alt and not the regular STAR. However, we needed to be up with the laws and all the rules. There's a lot of rules to even qualify to take the STAR Alt rather than the regular STAR. So a lot of students actually had to scoot over and take the regular STAR just like any other student in a regular general ed classroom.
And
Okay?
many of them have never taken it before.
They had never, yeah, and it's, I mean, you hear how extensive and everything else it is, but we have to follow laws and do everything correctly as well. And that's when we say, you know, the STAR does not define our children or teachers and all of this progress either. And then obviously, like we said too, the new STAR 2 design as well. You know, this is the 2.0, you know, has really affected these numbers. Would have been a DL3. So, you know, kudos to CNI because our children obviously are general ed first with that special ed support, and they're making so much progress. It's helping us as we really help to support our kids.
Are they not going to change the numbers for the individual indicators?
No, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna push it down a little bit for me. Sorry, I know, this mic,
We forget this.
So yes, I'm just gonna wrap up with our points of improvement. And so as Ms. Zimmerman said, what if the 2023 cut points had not changed, then we would have been a DL3. But we're not right now, but the special ed would have only been 6 students away from being the DL2. So as much as we as well were disappointed with the 4, we really celebrated on some of the great accomplishments that the entire team is doing. Additionally, the U.S. history and the dropout improved so significantly that we did have zeros in those two areas. The PEIMS data now and SAME Goal, which is our special ed management system, are now talking. So they reflect accurate information. The first 2 years, Ms. Zimmerman and I would look at a group of students here and then look here, and they were completely different. And it was mind-boggling, but now we're to a point where these both programs talk to each other and the accuracy is there. Next, our evaluations, our PLAFs, and our goals are much more detailed and student-specific. Ms. Zimmerman has brought in the service center to train all of our team over and over again on how to develop good evaluations and PLAFs so that we can serve our students much more effectively and directly.
They may not know what PLAFs is.
Oh, I'm sorry. The PLAFs are.
No, we both went like, the present, no,
The
sorry,
present
the
level.
present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. So basically, it's the strengths and weaknesses of our child across their functional skills as well as their academic skills. So it's the story of that child. So when we first got here, if y'all remember, when Dr. B even put the folders here and we had all the tabs and, you know, all of those things, that story of a child was basically about 2 sentences long. And you can't tell the story of anybody in 2 sentences, you know? And so now we have these long, rich, detailed stories, which will tell the teachers how better to help the child. We can pinpoint exactly what we need to help them with in order for them to be successful now. So we're very proud of our team. It's been a lot of work. It's hard, but they're just doing an amazing job. And then the other thing too, just had to do a plug, is, you know, parents understanding and getting more and more informed. Last year was our first annual special ed parents night. And I don't know if you saw it on the Facebook, but we'll have our 2nd annual one. In fact, it became so large last year, we're moving it from this building over to the domes. And we will be having a lot of booths, at least about 25 different agencies coming, everybody from pre-K all the way up through high school and beyond, in order to really allow parents to understand the supports that are here for free, not only in our district, but in the community. And those things make a huge difference. Parents had stated last year that they've never had that, at least that they were aware of in the district in the history of them being here. So, you know, we're really proud of that, and we hope to continue to see progress. Thank you. Thank you all so much.
A question, Dr. Zimmerman. I know that Dr. Pettis mentioned that we're short on special ed teachers. How are you doing with staffing of paraprofessionals? Are we?
Yes, sir.
Is that
Well,
something that you think we can continue to grow, or do we need more?
Well, and just like nationwide, of course, we are definitely needing still more special ed teachers as well as paraprofessionals. We are going everywhere trying to find some. We're even helping, we're growing our own, trying to help paras become teachers, which actually, that's why I lost a few. I was like, oh, I'm helping them, and then I lose them because they moved over to gen ed, you know, but that's what we're here for is, you know, however, we are very blessed. We have such amazing long-term special ed teachers who have come on board. The district's allowed me to have them come to our PDs. They're trained just as if they were, a regular full-time employee. And paraprofessionals, we have subs and we help train them as well. So we have people in those positions. Right now, it's just we're trying to find those full-time positions as well.
Many of these are retirees that wanted to come back and help, so they're that good, but, we really need some full-time certified.
Yes.
Not in all the areas, it's just a few.
Go ahead. Okay. The last item there, I just wanted to say something about the evaluations and PLAFs. One of the things Ms. Zimmerman is doing, along with Ms. Sandoval, is a spot check. So all our staff is working now, the ARDs are being conducted. Well, we have a process where we're spot checking all the work to ensure that the teachers are actually writing after all the training that this is actually happening. If not, there's conversations we're having to hold all of us accountable for the direction we're headed. So I do appreciate the work both of them are doing. On the last one is also approximately half of the districts that we research also declined in their scores. So that's just something we do.
They
Just
declined in their scores.
right. Yeah, they declined in their scores, so they went from 2 to 3 or so forth. So we always look at our neighboring districts to see what's going on with everybody else. And then, so what is going to be the next steps? We're going to continue to focus on accurate coding of students for suspensions and dropouts. I'm going to go ahead and give a big shout out for Maria Cantu, who's our PEMS coordinator that works side by side with us and asks, if she sees any irregularity, she's always coming to Ms. Zimmerman and myself and all the team to make sure everything is correct.
We even moved her office right next to
she's moving
Ms.
that.
Zimmerman because they're working so closely together.
Yes. We also have identified students. We are going to identify each student in each level performance to ensure additional supports are provided. So all those 1s, 2s, and 11 away from them, we want to know who they are and what can we do to get them to that place. Target instruction for inclusion support in general ed classes being provided. And most importantly, we met with Dr. Sandoval and we're going to finish our conversation next week on addressing the behavior that we're seeing on the removals so that that is impeding our instruction. So we are coming up with a plan to train our administrators and our teachers on how to address, some of these students that are that have behavioral issues. Any questions?
Do you feel, and it's just like when we used to go to court and judges got together and said, well, we're sending kids out with records now. Do you feel that we'll have this trend go back to where maybe it might not be a mandatory, but a discretionary? Because, it's hitting this department hard. And we went through years of sending kids out, and like I said, with a record.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering if that's gonna come back to a discretionary rather than mandatory.
It could be, but I also just want to make follow up on something Dr. Bennett said earlier. Our counselors have had training every month and they are doing a phenomenal job. I know she mentioned one elementary counselor who's doing some very unique things at the elementary, at Bettis Elementary. But I also have to say that a lot of children who have acting behaviors, they're communicating. That's the only way they know how to communicate. And so they're communicating and we need to understand the why behind they're doing that. They want to be removed. There's something. We do have a social worker from the university who's been here helping the district this first semester. And we gave her we had said, go talk to this little boy who's been, and she finally came back as I met with her every month. And she's like, Dr. B, I found out what's wrong. And I said, what? He told me his home and this is going on and the parents are split and the mother, all of this little bitty, kinder first grader. He needed to share his story with someone. And if it wasn't an adult, it was just someone to say, I'm so sorry you're going through this, but it's going to be okay. And then she said, after that, boy, his behavior just, really began to minimize and help him find a way to channel all those feelings he's having. So I think our counselors are also really coming up with creative ways to address the needs of our students. That's important.
It's the whole team, the diagnosticians, the
Yes.
speech therapists,
Behavior specialists.
just the entire team. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
We'll get there. We
Yes.
will get there. We're determined.
We will. Thank y'all.
Thank you all very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there being no further action that needs to come before this board, I am declaring this meeting adjourned, 8:27 PM. Thank you all.
We have to vote.